Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Because this time of year in England is particularly rainy, wet and cold, my chances for riding are a little bit more limited than usual. So I made a mention a couple of months ago in one of my videos about doing a riding kit review. Now, to my surprise, a few people seemed quite interested in that. So that's what the purpose of this video is going to be. How interesting it's going to be is another question. I'm not a professional product reviewer or anything like that. Nor am I what I would consider a professional rider. I've been riding for 20 years. I've owned a fair amount of riding gear in that time, some good, some bad. So if this is of any interest, please stick around and yeah, roll the intro and we'll move on. Okay, so massive caveat. Like I said, I'm not a professional rider. I don't ride for a living. I have no journalism background, so all I have is my 20 years of riding experience. What kind of rider am I? Well, I am a road rider. I spent probably the first 15 years of my riding life doing a majority of track days, weekend riding with friends, and for about the last 5 years it's been a mixture of riding, weekend riding with friends, some blood biking, and also touring in Europe. So that's the kind of style of rider that I am. I don't ride off-road, which I know some people will say is probably sacrilege, given I ride a GS, but I have no off-road skills whatsoever. So everything is coming at it from the point of view of a person who rides more or less all year round in England, who tours England, Scotland, Wales, and also in Europe. I have been all the way to Greece and back. I've toured Spain, Switzerland, Austria, Germany, Italy. So I would hope that I at least have some valuable input. So with that said, like I said, all of my opinions are just that. This video isn't to try to steer you towards buying one brand over another. It's just what kit I currently own, how I use it, what I think of it, and I also want to point out that I am not an affiliate with any of the brands mentioned. I will put links to all of the products in the description, assuming that they're all still available. But like I said, I get nothing from this video. So like I say, none of the links are affiliate links. I buy probably a fair chunk of my riding gear from Sports Bike Shop, and also my local J&S store in Northwich. So yeah, let's get on. What I'm going to do, I'm going to start from the ground up. So I'll also stick some some chapter markers, so if you want to skip to riding trousers or etc., that's fine. And yeah, if this video is of any interest, please do consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It really helps. And yeah, let's start. Okay, so I'm going to start first of all with the boots that I wear the most, which are also my summer boots. I tend to ride in summer gear, probably more into the winter than a lot of people do. But these are the Alpine Stars J6 boots. They are currently £175 at Sports Bike Shop, which I think is near enough, more or less, what I paid for them. I have had these boots for approximately 3 years. So as you can see, they are fairly well used. I'm not sure how well that will actually come out on the camera. I'm a size 11, not that that really matters. These are brilliant, you know, everyday riding boots and, you know, summer boots. As you can see, they're pretty beaten up. These have probably got about 20,000 miles on them. I do about 10,000 miles a year. I ride these all the time. Ride in these all the time if I can help it. They are brilliant. So brilliant, in fact, that I've bought another set as a spare. Now, the one thing I will say, I was a little bit skeptical when I bought them because of this label saying waterproof. Like a lot of people, I've owned a lot of kit that said waterproof. I remember owning a pair of Heingerich, allegedly waterproof gloves that were anything but. So when I saw this, I must admit I've become a little bit of a snob when it comes to waterproof gear. I trust Gore-Tex, and the fact that these said waterproof. I've had boots in the past that claim to have a waterproof membrane, and they've turned out to be anything but. These, however, have surprised me. I have ridden in torrential rain, and I mean absolutely peeing it down through France and Germany. So last year, in fact, in 2023, me and my partner, we were riding through Germany. The first few days in Germany, it was horrific. And I honestly expected these would by the end of each day, they would let the water in like a sieve, especially through the sort of lace holes. To my surprise, my feet got almost no water in at all. Like, I took my feet out at the end of the day, and there was a little bit of a dark spot on my socks, but that could have been through sweating. These have genuinely surprised me. The only time they have ever let water in was last year, riding through Germany, torrential rain, and only the left boot let water in. I'm pretty sure it was the left. And when I say it let water in, it was saturated. Now, I know on a GS, the rear wheel tends to throw water in one direction. I don't know about the 1300, whether it's to the left or to the right, but my boot was saturated. But by comparison, the other one was bone dry. Now, I do think that was because of the waterproof over trousers that I was wearing that were a little bit on the short side. I don't know. However, I've ridden in the rain since, and they've not let water in. I would say the biggest downside to these is it didn't take very long for the sole to start wearing quite smooth. I don't know how long, but probably 6 months to a year in, and it was already getting to that point. So they can be a little bit slippy. However, that has been the only negative that I have experienced on these. Okay, so let's move on to what I have worn when it's gotten really bad. Now, like I said, those have never let water in, apart from that one time in Germany. And I was with my brother-in-law, who was wearing boots that were absolutely not waterproof, and he got so fed up with it, he actually ordered a set of these. They're made by Oxford, Rain Seal, and they're basically over boots that go over your existing boots, and they zip up the side, if I can do it while I'm hunched over the camera. They have an elasticated top and a a popper here that you basically go round the front, and it sort of keeps the excess from, you know, going everywhere. Loads of grip on them. I've only ever worn them once. They never let any water in, and you do feel a little bit like you're wearing oversized, you know, slippers. However, they did the job. Don't know how much these were, because he ordered them from, I think it was Sports Bike Shop, but in Preston, and I think these were about 15, maybe £20 each. So I will still, you know, keep them with me, but these are really only for occasional use. Okay, so now for the big guns, winter riding. I used to wear City Vertebra Gore-Tex boots, I think they were, and they were completely waterproof, never let any rain in at all. However, they are the most, for me, they were the most uncomfortable boots I have ever ridden in. My feet killed. And then somebody said, have you tried Daytona boots? I hadn't even heard of them, if I'm honest. But I think I bought these from J&S in Northwich, and they were about £335. So they're not cheap. However, they are Gore-Tex, and you know, as you can see, they are well worn. They've got plenty of, you know, scuffs on them. Probably got about, I don't know, maybe 10, 15,000 miles riding on these. They have an opening where both parts of the Velcro you open up, and then you have a big, you know, zip down there. Incredibly easy to get your foot into. They have no other sort of, you know, mechanism except for some Velcro here that you can sort of loosen the calf bit off. But they, oh my God, they are like wearing slippers. They are the most comfortable boots I have ever owned. They've never let a drop of water in, and I can wear them all day without any issue, without any aching feet whatsoever. In terms of, you know, grip, it's not bad. I don't get any sort of, you know, slippage. But yeah, would highly recommend these, although they are a little bit on the more expensive end. Things I don't like about them. I don't really have any, apart from the obvious, which is the price. I have quite big calves, so occasionally on my right leg, which for some reason is slightly wider, when I get this zip to the top, it's occasionally a little bit tight. I should probably, you know, loosen that off. But apart from that, I have absolutely no complaints about them, you know, at all. Okay, so moving on to trousers. For everyday riding, for summer riding, and as far into the winter as I can get away with, because they are far more comfortable than riding in leathers and textiles, I have moved over to armoured jeans. So these, I've had these for about, I want to say 2 to 3 years now. So they've probably got 20 to 25,000 miles on them. These are the Alpine Stars Tech Denim Cerium Tech Stretch. And the reason I went for stretch is because, well, I'm a little bit of a chunky guy. So the actual the denim, you know, stretches quite well. There's not really a lot to say about them. They're a pair of armoured jeans. I've had no issues with them, no splits. I mean, all of the seams are still fine. There's not really any sort of, you know, fraying. The only thing I have done to them is the armour in the knees was a little bit rigid. Now, I don't know whether it was CE level 2 armour that it came with, but what I have done for comfort, because I do suffer occasionally with sore knees, is I have swapped the armour out for these by Engine Hawk. So these are, you know, level 2 CE, very flexible, and I just find them far more, you know, comfortable to wear. So yeah, these I bought from J&S Accessories, and yeah, they've really lasted me well. I'm a 35-inch inside leg, by the way, and these are a perfect fit for me, because I do find jeans can come up a little bit short. So if you're a bit of a taller rider with longer legs like me, I think these will be a good idea. Okay, so these are my winter trousers. So this is part of a set. You'll see the other part of it. So this is the Rucker Calyx Gore-Tex Pro laminated trousers. Had these for just, I think, coming up to 6 years now. I've always kept reasonably good care of them. These have got at least 40,000 miles on them. So this set I bought nearly 6 years ago from J&S. I think it was about £1,300. So for the set, certainly not, cheap by any stretch, and they're still that price now. I believe they've been superseded by a Calyx 2, but these, there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. I clean them on a fairly regular basis. They have obviously the zip that goes around that joins to the jacket. They have a pocket on a single pocket on the front. The only thing I did, they've got armor at the hip and also at the knee. Now, the only thing I did do was, although the armor is D30, so as you can see, D30 there, the arm, I find the D30 armor quite restrictive on my knees. So I have swapped out the knee armor for a thinner D30 armor. It is the proper Rucker stuff, but it seems to be a little bit more flexible on the knee joint. That's my only real gripe with these, was the knee armor, and the ventilation, which there is none. Now, obviously, these are winter, but they're not really. As soon as the temperature rises above sort of 10, 12 degrees centigrade, they can get a little bit toasty. So yeah, I'll cover more about the vents when I get to the jacket. But yeah, I have no complaints with these. Being Gore-Tex Pro, they are a little bit less flexible, because they are a sort of thicker, laminate, which obviously has its pros and cons. As a fairly good, fairly big zip down the side for obviously getting over your boot. But yeah, no major complaints, and they have been completely and utterly waterproof. Okay, on to jackets. So this is the other half of the Rucker Calyx set. I believe this is about £700 on its own. They do still sell this. So like the trousers, this is also Gore-Tex Pro. So it's I believe that means it's like a single laminate. First of all, I've never had any issues with rain. It is bone dry whenever I wear it. It has a couple of pockets on the front there, one on each side with waterproof zips, and it has a couple of inside ones as well. It has a couple of sort of opening, vents there on the side that you can open from either the bottom up or the top down, and obviously it zips to the trousers. The only issue I've ever had with this, and I say issue, is the main zip started to go on it. I'd zip it up, and the two halves of the zip would sort of peak and then tear open. So I took it back to J&S last year, and it was just outside the 5-year warranty. Now, you only get 6 years warranty if you register the garment to get the extra 6 years. Now, I didn't do that. However, there was a bit of a technicality that when I took it in to originally make them aware of it, it was within the first five years, and I think there was a little bit of miscommunication. And by the time I actually took it back, it was over the 5 years, and Rucker initially rejected the repair under warranty. However, you know, J&S were absolutely wonderful. They, you know, smoothed that out. It's got a brand new zip on it. Like I say, I have no issues with it, you know, at all. Apart from that, I have changed the armor in the shoulders and in the elbows for the Engine Hawk armor, because it is a lot more sort of flexible, and it makes, you know, wearing it much more comfy. The negatives, aside from the zips, aside from the zip breaking, is the vents, like the trousers. Anything above 12-ish degrees, you know, centigrade, and it's getting very warm. And I made the fatal mistake in 2020 of going on a tour with my partner wearing this. And it was an unexpected heat wave, and we rode from Calais to Basel, 430 miles, and it was 38 degrees, you know, centigrade, and I was melting. So I would say this is cold weather only. It does have that's what I should have mentioned about the, you know, about the trousers. It does have like a sort of thermal liner that you can zip in and out of it. That's not actually in there right now, but yeah. Okay, so this is my summer jacket. This is the Dainese Airframe D1. It is pretty dirty because I haven't really worn it since I last went away on a tour, and it could do with a bit of a wash. Not too much to say about this. It's a summer, you know, jacket. It comes with a very, very, very thin removable liner, which isn't in there right now. But as you can see, you might be able to see the actual, you know, venting on it. You know, you can see straight through it. So in the summer, it is incredibly nice and comfortable to ride in. Two main zipped pockets on the outside, and there is an internal one there, which is a little bit big and floppy, but it works fine. No real issues. Only thing I would change on this if I could is the armor, and I don't know if I can do this without it falling off, but the armor is velcroed in, which means because it hasn't got a pocket, I can't replace the armor easily. So I think the armor in this is only level 1 certified. So that's the only drawback. I can't easily change the armor for what I want. I have put, I think it's an Alpine Stars back protector in there, which you can't see, but that goes all the way from about there down to here. At the moment, it's just over £245. I love it. I will probably get a different one next time that I can change the armor in. All I would say is if it's cold, this is not the jacket. I've been caught out a couple of times sub 10 degrees C, and it gets a little bit, you know, nippy in there. So one thing I will include in the jacket, you know, element of it is this. It's an all-in-one suit. You don't look exactly very trendy wearing it, but this, I don't know what the actual model number of this is, you know, other than the fact that it's a Dainese dry suit. Now, it looks paper thin. It's got like an elasticated waist that you can tie around, and like a sort of diagonal zip. There's a little pocket inside here. I bought this and it wasn't cheap. It was at least £100. And I must admit, I thought that is not going to keep me dry. And what it does do when it rains on it, it looks like it's actually soaking in and it goes dark. And my first thoughts were, oh God, I'm going to get drenched. However, I would say I have the only water that this has ever let in has been my own fault via the cuff not being far enough down, or, you know, water going up the cuff and round the neck where it's had to roll over at the base of my helmet. But it has been amazing. I do have the Risha two-piece jacket and trousers, because the one downside with this is you do look pretty sort of comical trying to get in it and getting it over your other gear. However, I can get this on with my boots on, no issues whatsoever. It is just a little bit of a fun experience, but it does have pretty big openings if I can actually, you know, find them on the legs. They unzip and open up really wide. So even with my size 11 feet, I can get this on. The Risha is fine. It's easily as waterproof. However, I found that the Risha one is elasticated around the waist all the time, and it tends to ride up. And I did get a little bit of water going down into the trousers. That's not to say that's not to say the Risha is a bad product. It just didn't work for me as well as this. But you can also get these from J&S, probably Sports Bike Shop as well, but I got mine from J&S. Okay, let's move on to gloves. So for summer, I have been wearing these for the last probably 2 years. These are the Alpine Stars Copper, I believe they're called, Copper something. Yeah, just that, you know, armoured, quite thin, brilliant in the summer. Little Velcro tab there, quite short. Not really a lot I can say about them. They've been fine so far, although I do think I'm going to be replacing them soon because they are a bit on the thin side, which obviously they're meant to be because they're summer gloves, but they're starting to fray a little bit around the edges, and I just think maybe I should invest in a slightly newer pair of, you know, summer ones. But they've been absolutely fine. The only downside is because they are short, if your cuffs do ride up, they can let a bit of air down, which isn't the end of the world, but they're still a decent pair of gloves. And I believe they are touchscreen friendly. They certainly work fine for me anyway. Okay, so let's move on to wet weather. So these are the Risha Street Touring Gore-Tex gloves. Had them probably 2-3 years now. Used to have a pair of Alpine Stars 365. They were fantastic. Only reason I got rid of them was they were getting old, and every time I pulled my hand out when it was slightly damp, the lining started to pull away. These on Sports Bike Shop, which is where I bought them from, are currently £120. I've ridden them through torrential rain. They're not too thick. They're just sort of, you know, thick enough, but they are quite thin for, you know, for winter gloves. They've got, you know, obviously a Velcro, 2 Velcro straps to tighten them up. The leather is wearing quite well. They're obviously armoured as well. The left-hand one does have a little rubber, you know, visor blade built in, which I'd never had until now, and I have to say it's brilliant. No issues with them. Really not too much I can say about them. They aren't particularly warm, but I have, you know, heated grips on the GS. So for the majority of the riding that I do in the rain, these are absolutely fine, and they have never let a drop of water in at all. So now let's move on to really cold weather. Now, I will say one thing I forgot to mention during the jacket stuff is I do. A friend of mine was incredibly kind when I started doing the blood biking just over a year ago. I was riding in, like, you know, nearly -degree weather, and it was bitterly cold. And he very, very kindly donated me both these, the Keis, I'm not sure how you say it, I think it's Keis, heated gloves, as well as the heated gilet, which I didn't show. It's both are the older versions. I don't know what model number this is. I'm sure some bright spark in the comments will know, but they are absolutely not the latest version. These were the first heated gloves that I've ever owned. And even though they are at least 5 years old, if not more, they are brilliant. They warm really evenly right the way down to the fingertips. So I can only imagine the newer ones are even better. They have the little round, you know, plug on both sides, and obviously this, you know, button on both to control between the 3 different levels of heating. I am planning on, I've got an Easy Can on the bike now, which has the option to control heated gear. So I'm quite almost excited for some cold weather, so I can see if that can control the heat on these, like it says in the software update. But yeah, really warm. In fact, I would say, even though I've ridden in like practically 0 degrees C, once these get warm, I have actually more or less, and the gilet, had to turn them down because they're just too hot. Not too hot to the point that they're going to burn you, but I've never had to keep them on anything more than the middle setting. In most cases, once they warm up, I drop them down to the lowest one, and they are brilliant. As for being waterproof, I have ridden them a couple of times in the rain. I don't believe they claim to be fully waterproof. I can't speak for the newer ones, but on the couple of occasions that I've worn them in the rain, my hands have been absolutely fine. Right, let's talk about helmets. No, not those kind. So I have, for most of my biking life, been an Arai wearer. I had an Arai RX-7 GP. Leon Haslam rep was the last one I ever bought. And a week later, I did a track day at Donington Park, and I crashed and scratched it. And it was about £700. So when I got into adventure bikes, I ended up with a Shoei Neotech. I think it was the Neotech 2. Anyway, my first, flip front, fantastic helmet. I had it for years, nothing wrong with it. But eventually, I can't think what. I think there was an issue with it letting a lot of moisture in. Something seemed to fail on it, and I don't know what. But it was out of warranty. So, long story short, I ended up with an HJC I90, almost identical to this one, which is the I90, but it was in sort of colours to match my the first of my BMW R1250 GSs. I had that for a while. Then I bought this, the HJC Arthur 90S Carbon. Now this was about £400 from Sports Bike Shop, there or thereabouts. I can't find it on their website anymore. They still do the regular 90S, but not the Carbon. The i90, that was about £135. So the reason I have two is because I do the blood biking. I wanted to have a helmet that was completely dedicated for that, that was more likely to get sort of beaten up and, you know, scratched a bit more. And because I had the i90 originally, I bought this when it was on offer. It's just a sort of stone grey, you know, nothing special about it. And obviously it has the unlock mechanism there. Yeah, not too much to really say about that. And obviously this is the HJC Arthur 90S. Very similar helmet in a lot of ways, just more sort of premium. Now, I also have on here one of the one of the chin mounts, which is brilliant. I love that. So I also have on here my Cardo Pack Talk Bold, although that's not strictly clothing. I've had this for about 3 years now, and it has been brilliant. I've obviously got the extra mounting kit in this one. I did go for the one with the JBL speakers. They fit absolutely perfectly in both of these lids. These lids are incredibly easy to mount, the Cardo range. Even I could do it, you know, here without having to use the adhesive mount, and they've got pretty decent recesses for the speakers. They both have integrated, you know, sun visors in them. In terms of downsides, the only issue I've had with both of these, which I never had with the Shoei, this may be a user error, but it's both of them, and I've heard it from other people, is they do have a tendency to fog up at the edges outside, you know, obviously outside of the pin lock area, but even sometimes the pin lock seems to move, and no matter how much I move these and try to fiddle with it and get everything lined up and tight, it always seems to get a bit of moisture and, you know, fogging up on the outer edges. Nowhere near as bad as the Shoei did. I also, on both of these and the original i90 that I had, they both seemed to suffer with a tiny bead of moisture. Seems to always sort of creep in here and drip down. I've tried everything. I've had the visor off. I'm not saying these are bad lids. You know, certainly this one is more on the sort of budget range, and they're absolutely fine. I, you know, love them. But I have heard from other people who wear HJCs that, you know, the visors letting moisture in seems to be a common thing. I like the internal sun visor on them. I like how easy it is to get the visors out compared to other brands. It's, you just lift it up and there's two little spring-loaded clips there. The inner linings come out easily. They're relatively quiet. They're not particularly on the light side, but I don't really notice it once it's on my head. Yeah, not really a lot else I can say about that. So, an honourable mention: earplugs. These are the custom fit guards. Moto. They're the Moto range. These are my second set. The first set I had, the service was phenomenal. They, you know, came out during COVID. They did the ear impressions out on my driveway, and they did take a little bit longer than expected to arrive, but I suspect that was probably due to COVID and the restrictions at the time. The one thing I wish I'd done on the first set, which I've definitely done on this, is gone for the lanyard, because I have dropped the original pair several times. These are the original ones. As you can see, they're well used, and yeah, I I have dropped these more times than I care to remember, and then panicked because it's always been next to some sort of drain. So, but yeah, with the lanyard, I just, hang it around my neck. I love these. I'd never had fitted earplugs until I bought these. I always just use the little foam, yellow ones that you can buy in big sort of, packs. There's nothing wrong with them. I rode with them for years. They were always, moderately comfortable in my ears, although they did get a little bit sore on hot days. But riding with these and the little filter in them means I can listen to music or use the intercom without any issues whatsoever. The only thing I will say, and I don't know if it's my fault or the product, but over the years, the little valve that you can slide on both sides did eventually fall out. I always had it in the open spot. And I don't recall ever doing anything to cause that. I haven't actually fed that back to them. So I need to do that. But the new set has been fine. I did buy these with username Kate's, discount code, which if it's still live, which I think it is because I used it for these as well. I'll also make sure that's in the description. So I hope the video has been in some way, useful. It's a little bit difficult in here with the amount of room that I've got to really showcase everything properly, and I certainly wasn't about to try everything on. But if it's been of some use, do give it a thumbs up. If you have any comments, stick them down below, and I'll try to answer them as quickly as I can, and I'll catch you in the next video.